Hey everybody, it's Brad from the Big Family Homestead here with Jeff from JLR Valley Bulk Foods and Raging Awesomeness. This is your garden. How, sir, does your garden grow?
Not very well in the winter.
But you do have another garden.
Yes, I do.
Let's check that out right now. All right, so being outside during the winter, gardening, not so practical. This is where Jeff has the bulk of his indoor, during the winter, gardening going on. And I gotta say, I am just flat out impressed. Now, I've got a bunch of questions. Now, first of all, do you have a problem with, let's talk about light and temperature? Because obviously you're getting a harvest out of just a small amount of bulbs. And, you know, you don't even have a wide array of color temperatures. Tell me what's going on. Let's start with the light. How are you making this happen?
Well, these are 8 fluorescents. You can turn 4 of them off at a time. Then this is from Hydro Planet. I like this particular one because you can see, you can daisy chain them, and then if you put them on a timer, you have the ability to shut them off and on it as you go, and with one timer.
Okay.
Now I have another timer for the mat, which is the heat mat.
Oh, it's a heat mat, okay.
Yep. That's better for starting, but once the tomatoes especially are growing, I don't go above 68 degrees.
Oh, you just leave it at 61, which it says right now, almost 62 degrees.
Yeah, because I don't want it any really warmer than that, because they don't like their feet.
Their feet cold?
Yeah.
they don't like cold feet.
But they don't like them hot either.
Right.
You know? And then with the stove, you can see I'm in the 68 degrees. That's almost ideal for tomatoes, really.
Wow. Now, one thing I am seeing up here about these lights is if you can take a peek up top there, you can adjust the height of them. Now, how close do you want the light to be actually near the plants?
Well, for tomatoes, they like heat. So when they're starting, I put them about 4 inches maybe, and I feel it. If I can feel it where the plants are at, like right here, you can feel heat, that's about right, but it's not going to burn yet.
Oh, yeah. Now, that's surprising coming out. Those are just regular fluorescent bulbs.
Well, no, these are grow lights.
So they put off multiple frequencies? Is that how that works?
It's over, it's at least 64K.
Wow. But now, okay, here's the thing. We have purchased grow lights that are multicolor, and we just got them from regular old Walmart. But it's got red, and there's blue, and there's white in there, and they're trying to tell me with all this advertising that you need to have all these different color temperatures or else the plants aren't going to fruit or they're not going to do this. But I'm looking at your tomatoes and there are literally tomatoes in there. So you don't have any issue with just the one color temperature.
Well, it's the difference between the color frequencies, obviously, are the colors that you described. Some are for leaves, some are for fruit. That's why at one time of the year or the plant's growth, it likes this particular color frequency, and then another one when it starts to fruit. These are pretty much, they have all of them. They have the whole spectrum.
Okay.
That's why you're not seeing the different colors.
Okay.
Where a lot of times you'll have like an LED or something with just a particular frequency.
Right. See, I had wondered because, to be honest, these are not, the ones we have are not the world's most expensive lights. And I kind of thought, there's probably just white LEDs behind a plastic that's red and blue and white.
It could be, I don't know, yeah.
Well, let's take a look. You guys have got some lettuces going over here. Now, do you have to treat them different than the tomatoes?
Yeah, they don't like as much light and as long as light. So these will have less light. I've got my tomatoes over there because when I started them over there, now I don't have any room. So eventually I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do with all these extra tomatoes. And I'm just going to let this. So these are just 2 shop lights. They're just basic four
regular old shop lights.
But each one of those bulbs is 64K.
Okay. Now these are different than the shop lights.
Yep. So this is a regular, it's called a jump start. You can go look at it on Amazon. They're great for starting. Yeah, you can start them down low and then you can bring them up. But as you can see, they're not really good for tall plants like these, but they're wonderful for these.
Lettuces.
Yep, lettuce. And there's, there's different types of head lettuce here.
So do you want to try to kind of keep the plants that are like heights together?
Yep. Yeah, that definitely helps. And like this is, I actually had this over there, but it was too light, so they were kind of wimping over. But as soon as I brought them over here where the light was a little higher,
really,
now they start to perk up.
Okay, because that temperature thing, I mean, I can kind of feel it a little bit.
But lettuce is a totally different plant than a tomato.
Do tell.
Yeah.
Mr. Green Thumb. Indoor Green Thumb.
Yeah, and like this one here, this was much heavier, and what I did was I would bring them over to smaller containers and weed it out until this eventually will be just maybe 2 or 3 per row.
Okay, so you got to thin it out because of the nutrients or what?
Well, no, they like air, and in order to get a nice big head like you see over there, it needs space.
Okay. Now I know that with a lettuce, you can get that plant going and you can start harvesting whenever you feel like it's good, you know. How often can you really take from it?
Well, I bring these to my mom's, and she'll start taking these outer leaves, and she'll eat off it for maybe a week or 2.
Okay, and then you just let it get back to normal size?
No, then she brings it back to me and I trade her.
Trade her?
So, I mean, they're growing so fast that, you just transplant another one in there and let it go. Okay,
now, a question I have in terms of your soil. This can't be outdoor soil. This is going to be what, potting soil?
Yeah.
How do you feed them?
It's a germination mix from Sioux, HSU. And what we found out that it makes a great potting soil. It comes with your stuff to keep it, it's sterile to begin with, so you don't have, when I used to use other soils, I would get bugs and white flies and all kinds of stuff.
We actually have some bugs on ours right now.
Yeah, and you'll see 1 or 2, but for the most part, nowhere near what I used to have. Plus, this is much easier to keep in the right moisture content for the roots. So I get this, and this is what I've been using for germinating seeds, and then I just fill it into the pots. The other thing is, I highly recommend clay.
Clay, why?
It seems that plants grow much, much better in clay than they do in plastic.
And it's just an observation, or do you have any, have you A-B'd things?
Well, yeah, and the theory is this breathes, number one. The other one that is potential is, if you ever notice that when you plant something, the roots will hit the wall and then come back out.
Yeah.
And you've seen these bags that they
they're kind of root bound.
And the bags that they tell you is the root will hit the thing, try to go out of it, and then the root will die right there. So it'll stop. It won't curl back around and keep growing. That's one of the things. But also, I think just the fact that I think it gives it a much better aeration, and the moisture is a lot cleaner, I guess is what you would say.
Now, in terms of, do you fertilize? Because now, what do you do? Do you use like a material, or is it more of a liquid?
Both. The soil that we use is, like I said, has that in it.
So it comes fertilized.
It's called Sustain. It's a 45-day release fertilizer, and it's a natural organic turkey dew.
Turkey dookie.
Yep, exactly.
Turkey dookie.
And so what I do with that is 2 things. One is when I transplant outside, I'll put in a tablespoon or 2 in the hole, along with some, bone meal.
Okay.
Bone meal's another one. But also, I use a little bit of lime sometimes. I use a little Epsom salt on the tomatoes, especially when it's for blossom rot. And then I just have this tea right here. So
compost tea.
Yeah. So if I want to feed them directly with water, I'll just take one of these tea bags and I'll put it in my water overnight.
That is slick. I've never seen that before.
So if I want to feed them tomorrow, that'll turn black.
The water will turn black.
The water will be black. And then the cool part about it is if you look over here, well, I did it already. You use it twice. You make 2 pots of tea out of it.
And that's what, about a gallon and a half?
Yeah. And then when you're done with that, you just break open the tea bag and put it in, because it's just full of that fertilizer.
Probably poo.
Yeah. I get it in big bags and then I put it in here.
Look at that.
Perfect.
So this is just in the tea bag, so it's total fertilizer, so you don't waste it. It's not like coffee grounds where you might throw it away. Although
coffee grounds are great for your tomatoes.
Exactly. And
yeah.
For my Christmas present, I'll have to show you. I got my third composter.
Yeah.
So that composter, come springtime, will be starting to ready to go. Where the ones out in the garden are already pretty much done for spring.
Very cool.
So then I'll stop feeding that one and start feeding the other two.
Okay. 2 more questions I have. First one is this. Pollination. Obviously, you're not getting any bees coming in here, and if you did, that'd be very problematic.
Yeah. Nope, keep my bees out in the back. But I do it. Tomatoes are self-pollinating. You know, sometimes you can shake them, sometimes you can blow on them. What I do is, this one here is for the small cherry tomatoes, and then that one brush over there is for this as a slicer, and then just so they don't cross-pollinate.
So you're basically taking the role of the bee in this instance with the little brush. Yeah. I've heard of them doing that with apple trees in China.
Yeah.
Because there's such pollution over there that they don't have as many beneficial insects like honeybees, and so they literally have to go pollinate by hand, and then when they get a fruit, they'll put it in a bag so that it doesn't, craziness doesn't happen and they have a harvest. Okay, so the pollination, you just literally have to do it by hand.
Yeah, and the blossom has the male and the female, so it's self-pollinating. This just makes it, well, you can see how many tomatoes have started.
Yeah.
You know, so they just go.
Well, and that brings me to, well, I said 2 questions, but I just made a third. Okay, let's talk about harvest. What kind of yields are you going to get out of this?
Well, what I did last year, and I'm about 2 months behind, so I'd be eating tomatoes last year at this time.
Okay.
And I had slicers, and I would get maybe 15 to almost 20
on a plant?
On a plant every 45 days.
Oh wow! So
by
you were in fruit all the time.
Yes, it was actually interesting because one of these plants. Now this one is kind of stunted intentionally. They were growing up. This whole thing was just a jungle. I made it to spring. I brought it out to my greenhouse, and it was the 6th cycle. It started back up again.
Dang! So you can keep them going year round, pretty much.
Tomatoes will do that as long as you treat them well. They're just amazing, resilient plants.
Okay, now I did notice, because one of the tricks we did learn on how to grow more tomatoes and less leaves is getting them suckers. Now, can you explain the sucker trick? Because if you don't know the sucker trick, you're probably a sucker. No. But what is it? What are you doing?
You see how this looks like it's been pinched off? That was a sucker. So a sucker is basically
Oh, there's one.
Coming off the crotch of a
branch there.
A good branch, yeah. And it basically, a sucker is a new plant. So you can take that sucker, you can plant it, and it's a new plant.
But if you don't get rid of them, it just grows a bunch of leaves and not fruit on that stem, right?
Well, not necessarily. That's the idea. But in reality, it'll grow fruit. Like, for instance, if you look...
There's one there.
There's one right here.
There's one right there.
See, this is a sucker, but look, it's already growing fruit.
Yeah.
And it will grow fruit.
Here's one.
And this one's got a couple of them, too, because I had the light so low.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right here.
Okay.
So, as long as you have plenty of heat...
It'll just keep going.
Water and nutrients, you'll get fruit.
So then why pull the suckers?
Well, because some people want them quicker and bigger.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That makes sense. So you'd probably get smaller fruit but more of it if you left them on.
Yep.
But bigger fruit and less of it if you pull the suckers.
And the other thing is, here it's not so bad because I don't have a lot of moisture and bugs. But something like this could easily get blossom rot and bugs and snails and grubs.
But you got a lot more control inside.
I have a lot more control.
Okay, last question, I think, and that is the cost. Okay, is it worth it when because I know you're a math guy. He's a math guy, math whiz. Now, when you consider the soil, you consider your compost, you consider the pots and the plants. Is it worth it, or is it better just to come over to JLR Valley and buy produce from you?
Well, I wish I was big enough to sell produce, but I would highly recommend this for anybody, because especially lettuce. I mean, you right now with all the scares of the lettuce going on.
Oh yeah, all that E. coli.
That's crazy. I mean, a person can grow sprouts. Say, like I grow mung bean sprouts, alfalfa sprouts, and then I have I get my lettuce, and I have 2 or 3 different types. I can have a fresh salad, and I don't have to worry about any of the bad stuff, because most of that bad stuff is not from anything other than
mishandling.
Yeah, dirty water that somebody washed it with, or pickers in the field
Yeah.
go in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Or birds in the air, for that matter.
Yeah, no kidding. So, but now that's definitely a health side and a security side,
and a taste
financially.
Side. Okay, and a taste side, because once in a while I'll go in town and try to buy an organic.
Oh, those things.
And even the organic ones are they don't taste first.
Yeah, those pink lifeless orbs that they sell at Walmart, they're not actually tomatoes. They're genetically modified alien brain. No, I don't know.
So you figure this bag here is that's my potting soil, okay? So this is a 3 cubic foot, and I think I sell that for 16 something. But if you take that and start putting it in here, you can grow a lot. And then you, like these over here.
The lettuces.
Yeah, this thing was full. I got 2 full salad spinners out of it. This was spinach, and I'm regrowing the spinach now because I already harvested it. See, if I was really on top of it, I had like 6 of those, and I'd be in succession.
So now, okay.
But cost, okay, I'm sorry.
Cost, no.
I keep going away from the cost.
No, there's a lot of questions.
So, I mean, for a few $100, you're good for a couple seasons.
And then you spend your soil. You can't really keep the soil going at that point. You got to refresh it.
Well, you're going to have to always have fertilizers and stuff like that. But yeah, but the bottom line is you go and buy a 10 ounce of organic green lettuce at the store, and you're going to pay $5.
True.
Okay, and you can go through that in a week or less.
True.
So
or in our house, one sitting.
Yeah, that's true.
So now you start. If I wasn't right now, I like tomatoes. Those are my babies. But in reality, I need to skinny down to just one of each. So I have a small sweet cherry, a Matt's wild cherry, I have a sweetie cherry, and then I have a Rudger, which is a small slicer. That's what this should be. Then I should just use this whole thing and just start my...
Was your succession?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, look how much that's changed already. This fertilizer bag that he put in there. That's impressive.
Don't drink that.
Do not drink that.
No.
So all in all, you're saying it's definitely worth it in terms of the health benefit, the taste benefit, the financial benefit.
I think, yeah, if you're going to buy organics, it's cheaper to grow it.
Well, or you can come on over to JLR Valley and get some from them, because during the summer, where we started the video, it is bristling and bustling with bees and life, and he usually has so much more produce. There's plenty to come and get some for you.
Yeah, I like to grow lettuce. Lettuce, people, need to eat more greens.
Yeah.
I'm a meat and potatoes guy, but my brother, he calls himself a meat-eating vegetarian because he actually eats more greens and vegetables than probably most vegans.
Wow.
Because they'll throw in things like Oreos, because Oreos are vegan.
What?
But he wouldn't touch an Oreo.
Those are probably made of plastic.
Who knows?
I don't know. So anyway, thank you so much for sharing your system with us. I've learned a bunch, and if you're anywhere near Medford, Wisconsin, JLR Valley is out on, what's the name of that road?
Highway 13.
Highway 13, just north of Medford. That's it for the day, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. JLR Valley, come visit them. Have an amazing day.